you. But my goddamn wrist is killing me. And I've spent tens of thousands of hours using computer mouses before eventually my wrist started to hurt. But once it happened big time. Okay? And it got to a point where I had to put my Zowie mouse away. I had to put it away for good. And I have never taken it back out. I actually gave it away to somebody. And I had to put any and all mouses where I hold my hand like this. There are, if you go to any one of these vertical mouse aficionado, vertical mouse evangelist websites, a brand like Evoluent or whatever, Evoluent, whatever the brand is that invented the vertical mouse. You go to any one of these websites, they're going to kind of blow some goddamn smoke in your face about how it's a better posture to have your hand in a handshake grip than in a overhand grip. But there's kind of a neat thing. There is an illustration I saw that's a little animation that shows if you're not queasy looking at X-ray-ish stuff, that shows what your two bones in your forearm look like when you're doing this versus when you're doing this. There is if you know what the carpal tunnel is, the carpal tunnel is not just the name of a syndrome, it's a thing. In the carpals in your hand, there is a tunnel through which a nerve shoots through and then spreads out. Okay? When the carpal tunnel is chronically inflamed, it starts to mess with the way your fingers feel. And there's also an ulnar nerve and a radial nerve down here. You have these two muscles. They have those two bones, the ulna and the radius, right? Not to give you an anatomy lesson. You have the ulna and the radius, and these bones can kind of twist. They can freaking twist, right? And when they're like this, they're twisted. When they're like this, they're not twisted, okay? So you can feel them twist if you develop a lot of pain, you can start to feel them twist, right? So basically holding your mouse like this is good. And gamers is getting old, like me, okay? Gamers is getting there. I was a gamer before a lot of y'all were gamers. No offense, not being mean. I'm not bragging about it, but I was getting beaten up because I gamed by kids who these days probably play Call of Duty, while ignoring phone calls from their ex-wife or whatever it is, while failing to pick their kids up from high school graduation. They're not invited to the graduation because the ex-wife says don't come to graduation, but the ex-wife says pick the kids up from graduation. This is the kind of life the guys who beat me up because I played video games. They're playing Call of Duty. They're playing 2K. It's fine. A lot of them probably play League, right? Gamers is getting old, but they started later than I did. These people, these bullies in this hypothetical-ish scenario. That might not even be hypothetical. I'm pretty sure it's true of at least one of these guys. That he had to pick his kids up from graduation and then drop them off at Chi-Chi's, where his ex-wife was getting a ride with someone else. I don't know what kind of story this is, but it involves Chi-Chi's, a celebration of food, as it were. So, But gamers is getting old, and it's fun to witness. It's fun to witness because, again, I was a little ahead of the curve on gaming. Not in a braggadocious way. I was a little ahead of the curve on gaming. A little ahead of the curve. Just a little bit. I was like, ooh, games are cool, before any of my friends thought games were cool. I had to kind of... There was a period when Mario came out, and we were all like, love that Mario. But then it's like, well, what about this game, Castlevania? Nah, I don't know. I'm going to go play baseball. And then that was it, basically. And then I was left alone. Alone in the darkness of gaming. For many years. Until, oddly, like PlayStation 1, mid-PlayStation 1, Final Fantasy 7. PS2, Madden 2001, and then Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast, and then they started coming back. These kids who just, they didn't care. Mario was it. They're like, what a quaint diversion. And then I'm like, well, they get this game called Castlevania, they get this game called Contra. Why don't you die? And then that's what they said to me. And then they went and played baseball without me. And now they all have broken backs from too many foul balls. And I'm a YouTube millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. Making sure someone knows I'm not a millionaire at all. Just making sure everyone knows that. I'm not a millionaire. I bought 2 mouses today instead of 1 because I predicted that at least one of them had a high chance of hateability. But someone is saying, do I swap back to a regular mouse for FPS or use the vertical? That is the sort of question that we need to address here. And this is why we're talking about this. Gamers is getting old, okay? For a while, there was the Evoluent mouse. There was an HP vertical mouse. There were a couple other vertical mouses. And then there was this Logitech MX vertical. And the reason I like the MX vertical is I got it taped up to keep the dongle. There's no place to keep the dongle, so the dongle is in there. It had these 2 buttons that I mapped to copy and paste, right? That's it, really. And so I can use this to copy and paste. I copy and paste a lot, right? So this is not a gamer's mouse. It's a productivity mouse. It's like a work mouse. But like Razer made a gamer vertical mouse. Now here's the thing. I mean, nobody's going to really debate me about this. There's a little bit of toxicitaciousness going on in the gaming community. And, sometimes you don't even have to really be insultorious or offensive or abusive to be toxic. You can be toxic to yourself, okay? You can be toxic to yourself. You can be toxic alone. One of these loneliness toxicities that gamers possess is this incessant insistence on frugality, right? The great meme about the Demon's Souls chair, where he's playing Demon's Souls on a CRT with the chair in a room full of firewood. Gamers love to post pics of $1 million workstation, battle stations, and then have a little folding chair or some $8 IKEA office chair there, like et cetera, et cetera. Gamers have this frugality. Gamers also kind of get hung up on a couple of things. I'm sure a lot of these habits have been, they're slowly being sanded off. Like, for example, gamers used to, for a long time, love to skimp on a power supply when building a PC. They used to love to get like the cheapest power supply possible. Now, we can't really do that anymore because modern GPUs require more power. But it used to be people were getting power supplies that would freaking blow up. And then they'd be like, oh, my power supply blew up. I've known so many gamers who are like, my power supply's on fire. And it's like, did you buy like the $30 one? Did you buy one that was like in the clearance bin at Fry's? Because first of all, you shouldn't go to Fry's, and that's why Fry's closed, because gamers started getting wise. When the gamers get wise, they don't go to Fry's, right? They get power supplies, and that's it. And it opens their eyes. So another thing, because you'd see gamers just gamers care about themselves a little bit more now, at large. When you peruse PC Builder Reddits and you look at battle station photographs for people praying for upvotes and whatnot, when you look at battle station photographs, you by and large see nicer looking setups now. And there is, we kind of kick derision around like a kickball, like a volleyball, like a dodgeball ball in the dirt lot of discourse. We kick around a dodgeball of derision between ourselves as elite gamers, making fun of those who dare to have RGB in their setups or whatnot. But I say, let the current breed of youngsters interior decorate if that's what they want to do. Let us not shout down a single aesthetic choice because they made a choice. Let's just say, you know what, it's okay. If putting rainbow-colored LED RGB lights on all their stuff is what gets these kids into caring about the place they live, freaking more power to them, you know? That's my number one thing. Now, it's also possible that gamers are starting to care more and more about how their battle stations look because they want to share photographs on the internet for flair and upvotes and crypto and all of that, and then bitcoins and Dogecoins, and they want to get NFTs given to them by Reddit upvotes. They want Facebook likes. They want Zuckerberg points, right? So that's another reason, possibly, and that's dark, but that's okay. That's okay. Someone is saying, I can't even find a PC anymore that doesn't that lights that. What are you saying, that doesn't light everything up? It is incredibly easy to not have a PC that lights up. I built my own PC that I have right here that I'm using today, and I even bought some RAM for Prime Day. I bought 64 gigabytes of Trident Z5 DDR5 6000 CL30 RAM to replace my 192 gigabytes of Intel XMP, whatever, 5200 RAM that I can only run at 3600 stable on here. And this has resolved every single stability issue. Let's actually go over to OBS stats right now. Hold on. 0 dropped frames out of 341,266. That's not bad. 0% dropped frames. We've dropped 0 frames since I opened OBS and did a little capture earlier. Nothing. I'm getting no stutter. System wide 0 stutter. Anyway, so what am I saying? Gamers are starting to kind of care a little bit more about stuff in general, and that's fine. That's actually good, and I think it's beautiful, in fact. And the fact that Razer has invented a vertical mouse. They've released a vertical mouse. The fact that Razer has released a vertical mouse, I find pretty nice. Hold on, I'm producing something. I'm doing a little production here. Hold on. The fact that Razer's produced a vertical mouse, and I find that wonderful. Hold on. What is happening? Oh my God, are you kidding me? Razer's produced a vertical mouse, and I mean they had another one of this. I think what it either means gamers are starting to care more about themselves. Gaming is becoming mainstream enough that gamers are cool. They're no longer immediately kicked in the nards when they tell a girl they play video games in school, which is nice. Or number 3, it's just highly possible gamers is getting old. And people are getting their goddamn wrists messed up. You can now, first of all, the RGB on this mouse comes turned off. Okay? It's turned off by default. I turned it on myself because it's yellow. It's action button yellow. It's my yellow, okay? I made it yellow. It has 140 hours of battery life. It's fine. So I've been using this Razer one, and I've got the Keychron one as well. So the Keychron one has an 8,000 hertz polling rate mode, which is nice. Which is nice. You know, they both have these very low profile 2.4 gigahertz dongos. The Keychron one also has a horizontal scroll wheel, and then it has the buttons on the front arranged in this orientation, which I like, the thumb buttons. So you can hit them like that. It's not bad. And then this one, I'm not going to slam the buttons on this one, but because this one is currently plugged in. But this one, I believe so far this Razer one has won, which is a crying shame because it costs twice as much as the Keychron one. This was $120. The Keychron one is $69. So this one does not have a horizontal scroll wheel by the thumb either, but like what would I use a horizontal scroll wheel for? I mean, I know what I would use it for, but I have a hotkey where I can hold the Alt or the Control down and just I can set it up in Resolve or Premiere. But so it's I do like this Razer mouse. I've got it in 1000 hertz polling rate mode right now. They're both 2.4G. I've got this fast RAM in here. It's pretty delicious, and I like the kind of exaggerated skirt on the bottom here for the pinky finger. So there's a rest for the pinky finger. So someone in the chat is saying they hear great things about vertical mice, but they're too used to the horizontal kind. Let me tell you, it takes about an hour. It takes about an hour. And then you're used to it. I can beat Quake. Okay? I can beat Quake. I can beat Quake 2 with an MX vertical mouse. This is a 125 hertz polling rate. So if I'm playing at 144 frames per second, the mouse isn't even polling the same rate as the monitor. I don't really even know what that means. I do know what it means, but we're going to pretend that I kind of don't. We're going to pretend that that's exactly what I feel like. It's like I feel like I was instantly on board with the mouse. I feel like 5 minutes after I started with the MX vertical, I was like, oh, my wrist doesn't hurt anymore. That's wonderful. And that's it, really. That's it. It took me about 5 minutes, but I've sold MX vertical mouses to like 9 of my friends at this point, and they average saying it's about an hour. It's about an hour to get used to one. But the main problem with this Keychron one for me is, and this is actually a problem with gamers in general. Gamers love to skimp on a mouse. Gamers like to deride gamer mice still. Gamers like to deride the fact that a mice looks gamery still. They still do this. Gamers will still use cheaper, uglier mouses. They swear by the Logitech Master mouse, the G series mouse. They like it's. I feel like there's a knee-jerk reaction that this is the best mouse, is the Logitech. I don't need to replace my Logitech, but you're gonna get old. You will, and it's gonna hurt. Okay, it's gonna hurt. And the fact that that gamers skimp on mouses, and as we know, gamers do kind of lay the tracks for the railroad of the future with regard to just proliferation of ideologies and such. You know what I'm talking about. The fact that when you search for vertical mice on Amazon, the vast majority of them are like $20. And I am not going to buy a $20 Special Boy mouse. The first step is acknowledging I'm a special boy who requires a special mouse. This is basically like a physical therapist mandate for me. It's medicine as much as it's productivity, a little bit more than it's entertainment. Okay, this is more medicinal and therapeutic for me than anything else. Okay, so I'm not going to buy a $12 Anker brand vertical mouse. And when there's a thread about vertical mouses in gamer places, and I know this because I did a lot of research last Saturday to buy these mouses. I did a lot of research, and first of all, I bought both of these mouses within seconds of each other. Okay. And because I had them both open, and I'm like, you know what? Why am I trying to pick one of these two? It's down to these two. I'm going to buy both of them because I can afford it, and I can easily get rid of one if I don't like it, because Mimsy needs a new mouse. I'm probably going to give her the one of these that I decide not to keep. And I ordered both of them, and the shipping, one of them was coming UPS, and the other was coming FedEx. One of them was coming from California. The other was coming from Hong Kong. Okay. And they both said they were going to arrive on Thursday, July 17th, 2025. And then the next day, I got notifications, updates in my email that said they're actually coming on Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. And then the next day after that, I received 2 more notifications from UPS and FedEx respectively saying that they were going to arrive on Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. And then a half an hour later, they both arrived here in my house. So UPS and FedEx kind of, they pulled together to prank me a little bit. I'm sure this is a very enthralling story for everyone listening. I'm sure that was the most exciting thing you've heard all god-darn day. But while I was reading about these mouses, there was a thread on an internet place that was pitting these 2 mouses against one another. No one in the thread had either of them. Half of the people in the thread were saying, if I were you, I would just get this Anchor one. It's $17 now, and it's going to be on sale on Prime Day probably. Just get the Anchor one. And it's like, I'm not going to buy a $17 specialty mouse that has a 2.4 gigahertz dongle. Like, there's no way it's good. There has to be something wrong with it. That is a freaking sweatshop mouse made with slave labor. Right? Like, there's no way you can sell a sensitive piece of electronics of any quality whatsoever for $17.99, right? The $69.99 of the Keychron actually made more sense to me. But while I'm reading this thread, people are they are prosing and consing these 2 mouses against one another. They're pitting them against one another, prosing and consing them, right? And I was just so confused. Their number one complaint about both mice were that they were too heavy. They kept saying, it's too heavy, 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 it's too heavy. These are people who genuinely believe with every fiber of their freaking that a mouse with holes in it's gonna get you ranked in CSGO. Okay, that's what these people believe, okay? That's what they believe. Mouse gotta have holes in it. It's got to be made of cheap plastic with hexagonal speed holes. And then I'm going to get ranked, right? That's what they believe. And if you look at these boys, I call them boys. I'm sorry, that's what they are. They're not men. Oh, no, they're not men. You look at these boys, and they're holding their mouse. I mean, they are straight up, like they are gripping. They are gripping. I'm trying to find something. They have a mouse about the size of this, and they're gripping it like this. And it's like, I mean, they are going to develop freaking concert violinist tendinitis with Kentucky Derby jockey velocity. And it's going to happen. And when it does, they will be buying, in my opinion, whatever Razer's newest version of this is. Because this... Today, so far, following exactly 4 hours of use with each mouse, I divided them up, 4 hours each. This Razer is the better one for me because my hand very naturally, look at where that pinky goes. See that? Look where that pinky goes. And then it's like there's this little solid plate here for the ring finger, and the pinky rests just there. It's not dragging on the desk. And then look where the thumb goes. I initially kind of hated this thing because I was trying to put my thumb like all the way through it like that. But really, you just kind of daintily grip this carbon fibery grip texture here. And I do like it. And I like the buttons being above and below. It's nice. And I do like this mouse. And it feels good and smooth for me so far. And I messed around a little bit in Resolve and, you know. And it's actually strange because when I first got it, I thought it was too slow. It was glacial. And then I guess the feet the feet slipperied up. So the feet are nice and slippery now. The problem with the Keychron one is, and it is as I feared, the gamers all said this one is the gamers, none of whom, in this thread I read, the gamers, none of whom actually had touched either mouse. they all said this one is definitely better. And they listed 2 reasons that it's better. Number 1, it's cheaper. Okay? Number 2, it's so much lighter, right? This weighs like 96 grams. It weighs basically nothing. They are addicted to, they really want the mouse to be as light as possible. I feel like this Razer is a little heavy. And if you read reviews, first of all, be careful reading reviews of mouses. If you read reviews of this mouse, you will hear the reviewers complain that it is too heavy. And it's heavy so it doesn't like tip over, first of all. But also, the feet's nice and slippery. So it sounds like a skill issue. Also, when you're holding a mouse like this, you're moving it. You do want it to be light. But when you're holding a mouse like this, it behooves you to have a little heft because you're doing stuff with your thumb. They're giving you things to do with your thumb with a mouse like this. So the earliest vertical mouses I encountered, they were just flat on the side. They didn't even have the 2 courtesy buttons of these buttons feel so bad to press, by the way. They feel so awful. Like, you deserve better than this. This is $120 because Logitech wants to charge you $120 because they have a famous name. I think if you want a vertical mouse, this one is $69. This is their software is super easy to use. The software is literally a website. It opens in your browser in Chrome, which is really cool, and then it just detects the dongle on your system. Like this is really nice, but for me, it's too small. My fingers get kind of crammed here, and my pinky keeps slipping off. But also, look how in the name of maximum gameriness, do you see how the scroll wheel is kind of hollow? You can see the spokes in the scroll wheel. Can we see it? Yeah, you see the spokes in the scroll wheel. You can see them in there, right? I was hoping that I would like this one the most because I thought it would be fun to have this scroll wheel. But ultimately, pushing it around, it doesn't feel as good. It doesn't feel as good pushing it around. Yeah, I have to be really disciplined with my grip. Like, I have to really, have these 3 fingers have to be together. And I have to be clicking like that with the middle finger. And I have to have it at that angle. And it does get a little, it gets a little persnickety to me. Whereas the Razer, I feel very luxurious when I'm pushing this around. And again, a mouse can be heavier when you're pushing it with a little pinchy grip. With a little pinchy grip. So when you're not just trying to hover it around with you're using these, God, it hurts my hand just to pretend to push around a regular mouse. When you're pushing it around, you're basically using these tendons here. You're kind of marionette. You're manipulating your fingers like marionette strings, and it's again, if it doesn't hurt you to use a top style mouse, that's cool, but it will. It's not going to not hurt you. At some point it will. And I would recommend it, if I could turn back time, I would have told myself to get one of these ugly looking Evoluent mouses way back when I was working in a J office a long time ago. I don't mean a jerk office. I mean a Japanese office. I would have gone back and gotten one. I think it is now is the time. Maybe get one and switch between it. Between it and your regular mouse until you're used to it. But I would say dive the freak in, dive in, clock in. I would say if you can afford to get a one that costs over $100, do it. But if you if it matters to you, if your health matters to you, and you feel like your hands if your hands ever kind of hurt when you leave your office or you're gaming, if your hands ever hurt, if you've ever felt, here's the first thing. If you feel any tingles in the tippy tip of the pinky of your mousing finger, you need to do this now. You need to do this now. That is ulnar nerve radiculopathy, it's called. That's what you have. That's what you have. And it can go away, but only if you stop doing the thing that causes it. And if it's in your mousing hand and it's this finger, it will eventually, and it's the tippy tip, it will eventually be this far back on this finger. It will eventually start to get into this finger, and it will eventually be all the way back to like freaking here. Can you shut up? What are you yelling at? What do you want? What? You had your dinner. She had dinner. I don't know why she's yelling. It will ultimately kind of get you all the way to like the meat of the hand here, and it then takes a long time to go away. A long time during which you got to use a mouse like this. You might as well get started now. You might as well get started now. Someone says, I'm having issues now, but because my table desktop is a mess with no space for the mouse. Clean your desk. Clean your desk. Do it. Do it. Down there in Buenos Aires. Clean it. You want to clean your desk. You got Buenos Aires, get Buenos Descos as well. Let's do it. Come on. I actually do know the word for desk. Do it. Do it. Do it. Okay? So I would say, don't have your PS5 on your desk. What you want to do is nail your PS5 to the wall with a cool bracket so you can display it. I'm kidding. Yeah, basically what happens as your hand starts hurting from this repetitive strain, as they call it, RSI, repetitive strain injury, what happens is eventually you can get it to go away by using a physical therapeutic mouse that is vertical, a handshake grip. You want between a 47 to 57 degree angle, they say you want. You can get it to go away. But if you are a chronic user of computers, a chronic computer, should you sit down at a person's desk because they say, help me out with this thing on my computer, can you show me what to do? And you lay your hand on their mouse, the pain is going to it's going to come right back. It's going to explode into your arm is going to freaking come alive like Tetsuo in Akira, okay? And you're going to feel that pain come rippling. I would recommend just switching to a vertical mouse now, and let's drive the market. You can beat Quake with it, like you can game with it. You're not gonna like gamers are so weird about mouses and keyboards. They're so weird about it. I did a video for Kotaku.com. I interviewed the CEO and founder of Scuf, Duncan Ironmonger, which is an awesome name. And I interviewed him about Scuf, and I was talking about the paddles and how they put back paddles on the controllers. And he's like, yeah, our whole goal is to, it's to extend hand usage so that, people are holding controllers and they're just using their thumbs and index fingers. We wanted to let them use these fingers as well. We wanted them to be able to use all the fingers so that they can get a little bit more of the flexibility that a mouse and keyboard user has. The comments filled with psychos, don't know where they came from, filled with people going, controllers will never be better than a mouse and keyboard. I will never buy one of these controllers. This man is a liar. This man is a fraud. Can you guys stop? Hey, someone's in the hall, with their laundry. I hear there's some sort of squeaky cart they're pushing around. Gamers just don't want to accept any sort of revisionism to the idea of a mouse and keyboard. Now, I can think of something better than a mouse and keyboard. I can do it. Rick. I can think of like a mouse and then like a thing I'm holding in my hand. Nobody's made this before, but I can imagine a thing I'm holding in my hand that has like a stick and like some triggers on it, and then a mouse that I have in the other hand. I'm just using a mouse. Nobody's ever made anything like this before. I can imagine something better than a mouse and keyboard that uses the same principles. That's a mouse and a nunchuck, basically, right? Yeah, like a Wii nunchuck, but like a pro nunchuck, like a nunchuck that has a D-pad and also has like multiple grippable buttons on it. Like, can y'all stop? Because I think this, like playing like this on your keyboard with your WASD, I think that's that is tendon gremlinating. That is gonna tendinitisify you at some point in the eventual future. I don't necessarily think that's super good. Now I do have a Philco keyboard, which is the choice of old school StarCraft players. Someone is asking when the vlog from Berlin will be released. It'll be soon. There was a problem with the audio that I started fixing, and it was like, oh, it was going to take me. I thought that I could drag and drop something. I know who you are, by the way. I thought I could drag and drop something. Thought I could drag and drop something, and then I couldn't. And then I'm like, oh, it's going to take me like 6 hours to do this. And I was like, well, I'm just going to get back to work. And I flipped over to another project. But I will get around to it. I got like quarter of the way through it. But anyway, I can imagine some sort of device where it's like I'm gaming in one hand and I'm gaming in one hand and I'm mousing in another hand, like a grip device. I'm sure there have been some attempts to make something like this. Split keyboards, I think, are a fraud. I think if you have a wrist rest, like I have this Philco brand one, which Oni Spumoni, you'd be hard-pressed to find if you tried to get this, unfortunately. They do every once in a while release sort of nice, it's a Japanese oak wrist rest. They do every once in if you have a wrist rest on your keyboard and you're typing correctly, you're fine. You're fine. I think split keyboards are a little iffy, in my opinion. I think the Microsoft, I used a Microsoft Natural keyboard for a while, and I think it was, I think we all got kind of caught up in the idea that if you're making like a movie that is attempting to approximate Neuromancer or whatever, you can't have a keyboard that's like this. You have to have a keyboard that's like this, right? So we ended up kind of losing sight of, when really I think when the Neuromancer TV show comes out, I think the keyboards need to look like this. Like, I'm just saying. I think they need to look like this. This is, in case you didn't know, Philco is a Japanese company, so it's okay to buy one. The corporation is actually called Diatech, which is a pretty cool name. And Philco is the name of their little keyboard imprint. I did learn Dvorak a long time ago. And I got pretty fast at typing in it, and I'm like, oh, this is better. But I got into it because there was a guy in my dorm, the guy who I played Doom with in college very briefly. He was like, I sat down to like do something at his computer, and I'm like, what's going on with your computer? And he goes, you still type in QWERTY? Then he says to me, and I'm like, okay, man, all right. He was like, he really believed that QWERTY was going to be a dinosaur and that everyone was going to give up on QWERTY. He really believed everyone was going to kick QWERTY to the curb. He really believed it, like hardcore. This guy so believed it. And it's very, very funny. He was on Linux. He was. He loved Linux. Yeah, he was a Dvorak guy. Yeah, I didn't know what Dvorak was. His keyboard was blank, which quite frankly was inspirational to me. I thought it was neat to see a blank keyboard. That didn't bother me. The blank keyboard didn't bother me. The fact that the keys not only were they blank, they also kicked me in the balls by not being what my fingers and brain remembered them as being, right? So yeah, it is true. QWERTY is designed so that you can type the word typewriter with one finger on one row, so that typewriter salesmen can sell typewriters. QWERTY is insanely bad. No offense to it. It's insanely bad. Have you ever seen a Korean person type? They can type our equivalent of 300 words per minute. Easy. It's incredible. And that is why StarCraft became very popular in the internet cafes, right? Like, I was learning about this, and I didn't know, I don't know about this stuff until the 90s, right? And I had several Korean friends in college, and I learned the ways of the old of typing in Korean. I learned the ways, and it got me interested. It got me interested in thinking a little more deeply about this sort of stuff. But anyway, I'm still reviewing these two mice. I'm thinking I'm going to stick with this one because I bought this Razer Wolverine V3 controller because my Scuf Envision is dead. I will not slander the Scuf Envision. It was a beautiful controller that served its purpose. I got thousands of hours of gameplay out of it. I liked the fact that it had system function buttons where I could press a button to press Alt F9 on my keyboard, which would begin NVIDIA Shadow Play. I could map all that stuff just fine. But I got this controller, and I did what I always do when I get a new controller, which there's a video game I play when I get a new controller. There's a couple games I play, but there's one in particular that I play, and I play all the way through it because it only takes me about an hour to play through. And I did it to test this D-pad, and I told my friend, oh, this controller sucks. I don't like it. But now it's been about 3 weeks, and I like it. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. So what happened? The D-pad was so slippery, and I don't like this self-loathing D-pad shape, right? Where it looks like, sorry, it's a D-pad. It's not a circle, but we put a circle on there, and that kind of made it look like a Michigan pizza pepperoni, like a little bit curly, a pool for oil and such. So it's they curled it a little bit, and it's got micro switches. You hear this? They made it look like the Big Bonito. If we've got any Big Bonito fans, that has over 100 pepperonis on it to be. The Big Bonito, Bonito's Pizza. You got any Michigan pizza fans in the crowd? They're all micro switch buttons. They actually have a little clicky micro switch and a membrane. And then they've got these middle buttons. You see the middle buttons? So you have bumper, trigger, middle button. The one thing that really disappointed me about this was the Razer website advertised mouse click triggers, right? So you see the triggers like this. This is regular trigger setting, right? See? Regular trigger setting. And then you can flip in these stops, and this insinuates what they call mouse click trigger. But look at this. That is like, I don't want to be a hater or a stickler here, but that's like 400% of a mouse click. That's like way more of a mouse click than a mouse. That's too deep. I really like the Scuf Envision Pro's version of mouse click triggers because when you hair triggerify those triggers, they feel like the bumpers. Like they feel really clicky and they're really shallow. So I don't really like that at all. Because let's face it, have you noticed the vastest majority of video games, the vastest majority of games that use triggers, and this has something to do with why Nintendo made the original Pro Controller not have triggers, have analog triggers. But the vastest majority of games that use or controllers that have triggers, or games that use triggers. Sorry, I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to read either. But the vastest majority of games that use triggers, they're not, using the analog unless it's like a car game, right? There's a huge number of video games that only use the trigger as a digital binary input. Okay, there's a huge number of them, and I mean a massive number of them. I'm thinking back to like Sonic Adventure when you're using the Dreamcast's analog triggers to like slowly manipulate the pinball flippers in the pinball minigame. That is not how pinball even works, but It's an interesting proof of concept for an analog trigger. I just remember the first controller with analog triggers was, of course, we're not counting pressure-sensitive buttons on the PlayStation 2, but the Sega Dreamcast had genuine analog triggers. They were legit analog triggers. And that's beautiful. I guess that Dreamcast came out before the PS2. So, but anyway, it had genuine analog triggers. They were really nice, and you're playing your racing games on there, and it feels like this, right? So it was like for car driving games, for racing games, car driving or racing, whichever one you like, having analog triggers was neat, even though there were so few stops on there. There were so few stops. I was just playing Crazy Taxi like yesterday on my Dreamcast. There were only a couple of stops on there. Like, it was not like true gas pedal analog. Like, let's call it what it is. But yeah, the vast majority of games that I like to play on Steam, we're not going to get into that exactly, but the vast majority of games that I like to play on Steam, like The Witcher 3, like I think that the analog triggers really worked as a thing when